Daily Fantasy Edge. Peter Jennings, of course, joined by Al Zeidenfeld and Adam Levitan. We are here for the main slate breakdown. And of course, Adam won the four-man yet again. Had a 1-1 versus Adam last week. And of course, Adam, you're just way sharper than I am, and you pick the Saints over the Jaguars, and you get the duck treats and all the glory. How are you feeling, man?
Yeah, it feels great. Extending the lead in the four-man. Hopefully can clinch it here soon, clinch this season-long victory soon with one or two more wins. More importantly, though, we need to get to the listener league. I know people are upset. DraftKings is trolling us. DraftKings is sarcastically making it bigger. And that's true. Maybe they are trolling us, but I did speak to them. They told me they were going to make it 8,100 instead of 9K or 10K to appease the make it bigger crowd. And as I mentioned on the solo pod, I actually thought that was the right decision because the main slate following Thanksgiving is typically not a very action-packed slate. People are out of their routine. They're with their families. They got busted on Thanksgiving, whatever the reason. The Sunday main slate is not as popular as it normally is. I have been assured,
travel
though.
Day.
Traveling, exactly. Yep, traveling. I have been assured, though, Al, that if the 8,100 fills Sunday main slate, we will get significantly bigger in the make it bigger quest for the week 13 listener league. And I think week 13 is normally a pretty big week. So I thought that was the right play. They did make it bigger. It's 100 bigger. It's still the best tournament on DraftKings. Go to DK Playbook. Look for the logo for this podcast on the right side of the page. You'll find the link to get in. So make it bigger, Al. It happened. Only 100, but it happened.
You have a little shrimp lo mein this morning? You all right? You got a little indigestion? It's only like 8:30 in the morning for me. What are you doing ordering shrimp lo mein this early?
The shrimp lo mein, today's Wednesday. I'm saving the shrimp lo mein for Thursday on the way to the Thanksgiving dinner. Thank you very much.
Fair enough. I mean, look, I can't say enough for the grassroots make it bigger campaign. We did it, guys. The rake-free wave coming to DraftKings. Moving up to 8,100. As Adam said, assurances that if we fill this one this week, so it's on you guys. You don't fill it, the grassroots movement and the rake-free wave doesn't go anywhere. You fill it, we will have succeeded in our quest. We will have really done everything that we can do as a community here on the Daily Fantasy Edge podcast to make it bigger. So I'm really happy about the fact that we're filling this. I'm really happy about the fact, that DraftKings has agreed to say, you know what, this is a big thing that's happening, and we've got to do what the people say. And then it's just a matter of, this is going to be the toughest week, guys. This is the hurdle. With everybody on Thanksgiving, everybody falling asleep because of the tryptophan and leftover sandwiches 3 days later, that you guys actually got to fill this one this week. This is the toughest hurdle. Can you do it? I think you can.
If we don't make it bigger, if we don't fill this thing, I'm done with the podcast.
It's retiring.
Yeah,
retiring from your unpaid position as the host of this podcast.
Exactly. Other priorities change. Not that you want to hear my takes anyways. They're all terrible. We have Jerry barking about Amari Cooper, making him the most highest owned player on the slate. Luckily, he's on the Thanksgiving slate, so you can tilt with your family and friends about Amari. On the main slate, there are some other notes we have on the podcast, Adam. We're recording here on Wednesday morning, obviously looking really hard at the Thanksgiving slate. So it is a first look on this podcast.
Yeah, I want to be clear. The time is Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. The last, 24 hours, 36 hours, I have spent looking really hard at the Thanksgiving slate. I know Pete now have done the same thing just because it's first and there's so much action on the Thanksgiving slate. I want to get it right. So I have not dug deep into the main slate yet. We don't have a lot of injury news because Wednesday practice hasn't even started yet either. So just consider this a first look. These are our first impressions of the main slate. It's nothing that is set in stone. Certainly could change opinions by the end of the week, etc.
All right. With that, let's dive into the first game. We have the Browns at the Bengals here, Adam. I think this actually is this slate is kind of tricky because there's only a couple great spots. This to me has the most sneaky potential to shoot out. What are the news and notes and how are you attacking this game?
Yeah, AJ Green sounds like he has a chance to get back. It'd be surprising to me a little bit, but it does sound like he has a chance to get back. Either way, though, Tyler Boyd's price has come down to the point where it's appropriate. I thought he was an awful play at 7,500 with AJ Green out. At 6K with AJ Green back, I would like him even more probably than if AJ Green is out. So Tyler Boyd at 6K certainly stands out. Running backs have just been destroying the Browns by kind of chopping them up. At the short level, a lot of short passes and just racking up a lot of volume. That way, moving slowly down the field against this Browns defense. Joe Mixon at 6,800 is certainly on the radar. And then, this Bengals defense continues to get just buried by injuries. Their offense is buried by injuries, but their defense too. Now they lost starting middle linebacker Preston Brown. The problem is, Al, that it's tough to project exactly what's going on with this Cleveland offense. Jarvis Landry has been burning people every week. David Njoku has had one or fewer targets in 2 of the last 3 games. Mm-hmm. Then we have Duke Johnson and Nick Chubb with pretty defined roles, but Chubb is so game flow dependent. He's awesome, but I was going to say, it doesn't play a huge part in the pass game, and Duke Johnson doesn't play a huge part in the run game. So you can kind of poke holes in all these guys, even though it is a pretty good spot for the Browns.
I mean, I think that we know that we're going to get volume out of Nick Chubb at the very least, with 20 plus touches in each of his last 3 games. He's got massive upside. He has 3 rush TDs of over 40 yards. That's the most since Adrian Peterson and Doug Martin both had 4 back in 2012. He's averaging 6.4 freaking yards per carry. The kid has been really explosive, and he matches up against a defense that has not been good. Cincinnati's allowing 120.6 rushing yards per game and 32.89 DraftKings points to opposing running backs. You're getting a volume player at 6,300 against a team that really has not shown the ability to stop anything, let alone this particular position. If they're not committed to going with Njoku, who also has a good matchup, and his price has come back down to sub 4K, so you can go with him, but again, tight end's a wasteland. It is what it is. I'm going to go with the running back that's in the 6Ks, and there's a couple of them this week that project for over 20 touches, albeit on the road, but projects for 20 touches against a really bad defense.
Yeah. I love Chubb, love Duke Johnson. If you're going to stack up some Bengals and think that they're going to get out to an early lead, I think the running backs are clearly the best option on the Browns. Njoku has been burning people. I think the most expensive player for me to roster this year has been Jarvis Landry. Has just absolutely flopped in some great spots. And, it's time to get off. Best play for sure in this game, though, like Adam talked about, is Boyd, especially if A.J. Green plays. That's going to open up even more space for him, and now he's at a price tag that should be really enticing. I imagine Ward will be on A.J. Green if he's healthy. So this is a spot where I think we have a lot of points. I mean, Andy Dalton is a GPP play, and so is Baker Mayfield. Do you have a preference out of those two, Adam?
Yeah, probably Baker. I mean, I don't think people realize the Bengals are on pace to give up more yards, I believe, than any defense in the history of the NFL.
What about the Buccaneers?
Yeah.
Also not good. There's a lot of good matchups on this slate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess you can make a case for Mayfield. I think there's some other quarterbacks I'd rather play, though.
Okay. All right, well, let's move to a game that does have a quarterback who's in play that is high risk, high reward. We have the 49ers at Buccaneers. This is the highest total game on the main slate. What are the news and notes, and will Jameis finish this game?
Yeah, I mean, they can't keep going back and forth every week, right? I think
they can. They can.
I mean,
they can't. That's what we said last week.
Challenge accepted.
No, that's not true. Last week we specifically said there was a chance that Ryan Fitzpatrick could get benched, and that's why we said he wasn't in play for cash.
That's true.
Jameis Winston is back in the saddle, and he's 6K. This has been such a throw-heavy offense, and really, I know that stat's been going out there a ton, but I mean, Bucks quarterback as a position as a whole has been like the best quarterback, like better than Breeze, almost as good as Mahomes, et cetera, et cetera. So I think Jameis is an awesome play. At 6K, from an injury perspective, O.J. Howard, unfortunately, will miss the rest of the year. Cam Brate, I was surprised. I thought Cam Brate's been so bad. I thought he'd be like 2,500, 2,600. Guys at DraftKings are too sharp. He's 3,600. And if you look at the way Cam Brate was used last year when O.J. Howard was out, I mean, his target share was really low. He did not have a lot of really good games when O.J. Howard was out last year. So I think Cam Brate is fine at 3,600. I don't think he's a slam dunk at 3,600, Al. But to me, Winston and Brait will probably be extremely popular, and I think with reasonably good reason.
Yeah, I mean, we went over it the last couple of weeks, how much they throw and how much of their yardage comes via the pass game. Obviously, Peyton Barber went nuts last week for one of the few times that he exceeded salary expectation. But if you think that if you want to buy into Winston, God, it's becoming an every pod thing at this point. If you want to buy into Winston at 6K, I have no issues with it. High team total, playing at home. They throw the ball a ton. No running back to just take the ball 25, 30 times from him. And a lot of good weapons on the outside. Brait's a good weapon at tight end. Evans, Djax, everybody that can catch the ball on this team is spectacular. Now, losing a weapon like O.J. Howard kind of sucks because he was somebody that he gave him another weapon, especially in the red zone. But just on yardage alone and touchdown expectations, Jameis Winston looks like a slam dunk play.
Jameis looks incredible. Really bummed about O.J. Howard. He was having a breakout year and certainly looks like he will be a star at the tight end position going forward. Mike Evans is definitely in play. I know he should see some Richard Sherman, who's been playing amazing after the Achilles, which is so impressive. Definitely solidifies his Hall of Fame career. On the other side, I mean, Kittle, if you're going to pay up at tight end, certainly has a great matchup. And Marquise Goodwin always has big play upside. Did notice he missed a practice for personal reasons. I assume he's going to be good to go. Al, do you have any interest in Kittle or Goodwin or potentially Breida as well, who is really cheap? And this Buccaneers defense has just been bad versus every position.
Yeah, that's probably the way that I want to attack most is with Breida because, again, look, I want to attack bad defenses versus running backs that give up yardage in chunks, that give up touchdowns. And Matt Breida's been doing really well as long as he doesn't go to the infirmary. He's been pretty darn good. Tampa Bay's allowed the 8th most 10-plus yard carries this year with 3.6 per game. And Matt Breida doing a good job of breaking. He was he was like 8th in the league in terms of 10-plus yards carries himself. The Buccaneers are giving up a ton of big plays. Breida is a big play running back. We saw him pile up points in the last game. 5,700 if you're looking for like a value running back that's not going to get as much volume as the guys in the 6K or the guys all the way up top, but you need a little value to fit a wide receiver in. I think that Breida's the guy for me.
Yeah, to clarify something, I do not love Chubb. I like Duke Johnson.
We can go back to the tape on this one.
The tape can have to reverse that. Producer Luke, edit that one out. I'm on the Duke Johnson train. Put the two words together again. Adam, any final thoughts on this game?
I like Chubb, but anyways.
I like Chubb. I don't love Chubb, but I like Chubb.
No, I mean, I think Matt Breida is just an awesome player. We've been so banged up this year that it's hard to get a good read on him. But really, when he was coming out of college, he was really high, like I think 2nd overall in his class in Spark ratings. And he's awesome. Will he be able to make it through the whole game, I guess is the question. But they've had a lot of time off. So, yeah, and I mean, if you believe that defense matters, I mean, Nick Mullins would probably be in play too in this matchup as well.
Goodwin or Godwin? Who are you going?
I mean, it's Wednesday at 11. You can't put me on the spot like this.
He's building. We got a great game for takes coming up right next here. Jaguars at Bills. Why don't you just give us some news and notes and all the great DFS plays here, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen is expected back for the Bills, which I think gives them somewhat of a higher ceiling. And it's just a tough spot for Jacksonville. Like, they're 3-7 now. They should have won that game. I can't believe they didn't win that game against the Steelers. But now at 3-7, it's just over for them. And now they're like, oh, we're going to schlep to Buffalo. Like, I mean, it's just a miserable spot for the Jags. So it would not shock me at all for them to come out flat and Buffalo to get all over them here. So Leonard Fournette, I think, is underpriced for how many touches he's getting at 6,700. I'm just worried that as a whole, this team is not going to play well. Total in this game is 37.5, Al. So Leonard Fournette is at worst a GPP play, but kind of the game environment here and the way I think Jacksonville's going to play scares me a bit.
I think he's cash game viable. And I'll tell you why. 59 touches in his 2 games since coming back from this injury. Now, usually a player comes back, dip their toe in the water a little bit. Let's manage their snaps. Let's manage their touches, ease them back into it. Nope. you're going to touch the ball 30 times a game, son. 102 receiving yards and a touchdown catch in those 2 games. So there is pass game involvement. You know he's going to get all the goal line work when they get in close. I mean, he's one of 3 players to have consecutive games with at least 22 points and 22 rush attempts this year, with Gurley and Connor being the others. They're going to continue to feed him as much as they're going to continue to feed him. He's the method man of running backs this year. I'm on board. I want volume. I want it at a cheap price. The matchup and the locale is not great. You know, the Bills at the Ralph are a tougher opponent than we really want to give them credit for, but the Bills have allowed the 10th most DraftKings points to opposing running backs on a per game basis, so why not take the guy who you know is going to touch it 25 plus times for under $7K?
You know who's going to touch it? You know who's going to touch it 20 times for 4,200?
Who?
LaShawn McCoy.
That's another good play. I'll add one more. I'll add one more thing that I think makes Fournette a little more enticing. I get it. Buffalo's in a good spot, getting the rookie quarterback back, but let's not forget some of the turnover issues that Buffalo's had, and I think that could be really nice for Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette, Jags defense. I think it is a rough spot, but they're coming off a win. I'd be more excited to play it. But there's a nice correlation there. And Allen, I mean, he is more than capable of fumbling it, running around. I mean, who knows? I think McCoy is interesting. The other play that's really nice, the same concept, would be McCoy and Buffalo's defense. Buffalo's defense could play really well in this spot against Bortles and the Jaguars. Do you have any interest in that, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, you save so much money by doing that. You know, Jacksonville's defense is 4K. Bills' defense is 2,700, and obviously you save 2,500 by going down from Fournette to McCoy too. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying McCoy is a good play, but 4,220 touches, I think, it stands out.
Right. Okay, let's go to the Raiders at Ravens. Lamar Jackson certainly is an interesting player to figure out, coming off a DK bonus at quarterback, but for rushing. I believe 27 attempts for 100 and some yards. Did not score a touchdown, and probably the most tilting thing for me last week was Gus Edwards getting the work instead of Collins, who scored an early touchdown. I was really high on Collins. I think whoever the running back is in this spot is going to do really well. We've seen the splits for running backs when they play with running quarterbacks. It works out really well. So, Adam, what are the news and notes here, and are you going to try to get some Gus Edwards into your lineup?
I don't think so. I know everybody is all excited about Gus Edwards. Everybody is falling all over themselves, like add him in season long, and that usually leads to a lot of ownership in DFS. It's not like he's super cheap. I mean, he's cheap, but he's more expensive than LaShawn McCoy. He's 4,400. They had 4 running backs active who touched the ball last week. Gus Edwards, Alex Collins, Ty Montgomery, and Buck Allen. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know for sure Gus Edwards is going to be the lead back. So I think that it would be a bit of a leap of faith to get super excited about Gus Edwards. Lamar Jackson's floor is so high. I'm worried about the ceiling when you're only going to throw it 15 times or whatever, or 20 times in a game. But yeah, the floor on Lamar Jackson, 5,700, is awesome. On the other side of the ball, we might have some plays due to injuries if there was a better matchup, but going across the country to face Baltimore, I mean, even if Jordy misses and Brandon LaFell is out, did the CSU Ram, blew his Achilles out, you know, even if all those guys are out, I don't really want to play any Raiders out. So, yeah, I think it's really Lamar. And if you can try to figure out the Ravens run game, and I should note Baltimore's defense is only 3,300.
Yeah, I mean, Oakland's allowing a league-high 6.6 yards per play this season. Oakland is allowing the second most rush yards per game this season. This kind of lines up pretty well for Lamar Jackson to run the ball, and whoever the running back's going to be, whether it's going to be Alex Collins or Gus the kicking mule, whichever one it's going to be, is going to get a lot of usage. And you got a West Coast team going east in the morning, playing an early game. Everything working against the Raiders here. And for Lamar Jackson, I don't think they priced him up enough. I don't think he's going to get 27 carries, because 27 is a high number for a running back, let alone a quarterback. But if he gets like 15 to 18 carries, and even like plays that are scheduled to drop back for them, it's okay, he's just going to panic and run at some point, right? So 150 passing yards is fine as long as he's getting you 80 plus rushing yards. Guy paid off his salary massively last week, did not account for 1 touchdown, and turned the ball over twice. The floor is super high, and so is the ceiling here. What am I missing, Pete?
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think we all played Lamar Jackson last week at 4,700. I do think there's other options. It's not a slam dunk this week, but I absolutely love, his upside here. I think he could score 2 rushing touchdowns, and totally right. When he looks to pass, he's looking at his first read, and then he's like, oh, not there. Now it's time to run. The other challenge is he's not very accurate as a quarterback, so he's going to lose confidence when he's missing these guys. So clearly he's a runner, which helps the running game. I think the Ravens are going to play extremely well in this position. The Raiders just ran into a really lucky win. Gruden and Derek Carr just fighting the whole game. I mean, the Raiders have all the incentive in the world to lose. So love the Ravens D, love Lamar Jackson, and hopefully we'll have more clarity at the end of the week on who the running back will be. I do think Gus Edwards will be really popular if we get more information that they're planning to utilize him in a featured role. It's probably unlikely that we get that news, though, Adam, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to declare a starting running back. There might be some beat writer speculation, but it's going to be Harry, I think.
Okay, let's move on to the Seahawks at Panthers. 2 quarterbacks that we've played a ton in the history of this podcast. Cam Newton ended up getting there last week as a really strong play. How are you attacking this game, Adam, and what are the news and notes?
Yeah, I think big injury question is Torrey Smith. Will he play? Because everybody's going to want to get back on the DJ Moore train after DJ Moore just went absolutely ham. We've seen the kind of volatility of DJ Moore when he was really popular against the Bucs with Torrey Smith out a few weeks ago. He had 1 catch for 12 yards or something like that. So DJ Moore is going to be volatile, extremely volatile, particularly with Cam, who's kind of up and down as a thrower. Also, I think the safer play in this game, the best play in this game to me is Christian McCaffrey at 7,900. It's certainly no bargain, but I mean, the role is so outrageous. We've talked about it all year. Goal line, 6 to 8 targets, really good runner anyways, and it's not the best possible matchup. I mean, I think Seattle's defense is pretty decent, but Christian McCaffrey with the pass game role is just too much for me to ignore at 7,900. So I'd try to find, my first instinct is to try to find the 1,200 to get from someone like Fournette to Christian McCaffrey. I don't know yet if the 1,200 is going to be a lot or a little on this slate.
I mean, I've said it a few times this year. I'm going to say it again. Christian McCaffrey's usage this season reminds me of Alvin Kamara's usage last season. It's pretty shockingly similar, and McCaffrey's actually gotten more volume per game than Kamara got last year. Albeit has 8 touchdowns, doesn't, not scoring 60-yard touchdowns as often, but he's been extremely solid in terms of volume, extremely solid in terms of scoring. And the last 4 weeks with 4 rushing touchdowns, last week being the only week that he did not score one out of those 4, the ceiling is here too now because Cam isn't running as much. I don't mind a Cam to McCaffrey stack. So you can basically account for the majority of the touchdowns unless they run one in with DJ Moore or Samuel, or unless they vulture you with a fullback. You're going to get 80 to 90% of the touchdowns if you roster those 2 cats.
Yeah, I agree with that. On the Seahawks side, Tyler Lockett's been great, and Doug Baldwin said he is finally feeling healthy. Are we going to go to any of the pass catchers here? And then the running back situation for the Seahawks has just been a mess to follow. Who knows what's going on there? But Adam, do you have any interest in a Doug Baldwin or Tyler Lockett play?
Yeah, I know Doug Baldwin said he's healthy. I'm not sure I buy it. Yeah, he scored a touchdown last week. I mean, he still hasn't topped 60 yards in a game, and I think all season. So I'm not too excited about Doug Baldwin. He is only 5,100, which I think puts him in play. And yeah, on the running backs, I mean, it's pretty clear that they prefer Chris Carson. They want to mix in Rashad Penny, and then Mike Davis is the strict passing back. So they're still going to use all 3, I think. So yeah, it's kind of tough.
Easy stay away. All right, let's go to the Patriots at Jets. And we do have some news of the Patriots coming off a bye, getting a lot of guys back, including Gronkowski, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady splits are massive with and without Gronk. The question is this version of Gronk going to make a difference? I mean, he's only 5,100. I mean, if you saw Gronk a year ago or 2 years ago at 5,100, it would just be ridiculous. But this year, he's looked so hurt. Now, he hasn't played since week 8. Will he look like the old Gronk? Has he found the fountain of youth in these last 4 weeks, or was he smashing natty ices against his forehead for the last 4 weeks? I really don't know. I tend to think that he'll be healthy, but I do think he has some long-term stuff that has sapped his explosiveness. So I'm not falling all over myself to play him at 5,100. He's certainly in play. From the running back situation, Sony Michel is healthy. James White is going back to his kind of strict pass game role. And then the third guy would be Cordero Patterson. So, Yeah, everybody expects the Patriots to come out and play well here. I think they will too. Sam Darnold is questionable for the Jets. I think Josh Gordon's in play, but as always, it's kind of difficult to figure out exactly who is going to get the points. I do think if you think the Patriots get a big lead, then for sure it's Sony Michel because he's kind of playing the blunt role where he's the hammer back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything that Adam said. It's just this is not a game that I want very much exposure to on this slate. There's so many other better spots on this slate to have access to players, that this game just isn't one that I want that much of. Am I wrong on this one? Like there's some guys that I want in GPP. There's not really one player I'm considering for cash.
Yeah, in tournaments, I definitely like Gronk and Gordon. I think the running back situation makes it a little trickier. I guess James White would be my favorite for tournaments just with his role. If you are going to play James White, you have to run it back with someone on the Jets, assuming it's a competitive game. I do have a little bit of interest in Quincy Enunwa, who we were really interested in to start the year. He's been battling a lot of injuries. What do you guys think about Enunwa, who's dirt cheap this week?
I mean, there's just like no ceiling on him, right? Like he's just like runs routes so close to the line of scrimmage. I don't know. I haven't looked at the Jets I haven't looked at the Jets in so long. I really have nothing to say about the Jets whatsoever.
They still wear green?
They wear green to bring you home the green. Probably not. Let's move to the Giants at Eagles. I mean, have you ever seen – I can't remember a team just totally choking away from a fantasy perspective more so than the Eagles did last week. Carson Wentz, one of the biggest props I've seen. Zach Ertz in a dream scenario in a high-scoring game. They're really struggling to implement Golden Tate into the offense. The offensive coordinator even came out and said that's been a challenge to integrate him into the offense. So, man, this Eagles team, Adam, you're in Philly. Break it down.
Yeah, I mean, going to New Orleans is like almost impossible. And that's why I thought that maybe Ertz and Wentz were a little thinner than other people thought. Like just getting whitewashed down there was exactly what happened. Saints just whitewashed the Bengals the previous week. Like they just leave you nothing. So I'm not going to completely hold that against them, but the Eagles have been so inconsistent and bad for much of the year. I do think that this is an interesting bounce back spot here. Like, yeah, they're 4-6, but they'd be totally dead in a lot of divisions. But in the NFC East, like, they're certainly not dead. So I think they'll be pretty motivated here to play well. And the Giants are just, since they got rid of Snacks Harrison, them getting destroyed by the run, they're always getting destroyed by the pass. From a news and notes perspective on usage, Josh Adams took over as the lead back, not only easily led the team in carries, but also ran 16 routes. And I think was targeted 6 times on those 16 routes. So, Wendell Smallwood barely played. Josh Adams played well. Josh Adams is only 3,800. So I think Josh Adams is at least interesting. And then on Golden Tate, Peter mentioned it. I mean, Golden Tate only ran 15 routes in week 10, but he was up to 28 routes on 36 Wentz dropbacks in week 11. And Golden Tate's only 4,800 in a really good matchup against just a guy I've never heard of playing slot corner for the Giants. So Golden Tate is someone that I think is a pretty good salary saver at 4,800. Al, I know they said they're having trouble integrating him, but he's out there a lot and he's in a really good matchup.
He is. But you know who also has a really good matchup, considering how bad the Philadelphia cornerbacks have been all year, and that's where you're attacking this team? Is
What are the odds Al brings up Beckham to
it's I'm sure I'm not going to end up playing him, and it's just going to be an awful it's an awful feeling. Like these Tyreek Hill island games are such an awful feeling.
I should
in the pit of your stomach all week. You're like, oh God, I'm not going to have him, and he's totally going to have 2 touchdowns.
I can't beat Adam with my league teams because I suck and I lose money. Try to play my cash game teams. I'm 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2 every week, and I lose every time. But at least I have the Ty Freak and Ty Fluke tweet to go to every time Ty Freak scores a touchdown. Brings me all the joy. And then someone even responded in my mentions. Imagine losing to Adam Levitan every single time in the forum. Well played. You got a lot of fans there, Adam. Ty Freak or Odell Beckham, who's more painful for you?
Ty Freak doesn't really cost me money ever because A, he's never on the main slate, and B, he's had some bad games. But he's never on the main slate, so it doesn't matter. Odell in this one would be painful because I know Odell's going to be owned, and he's an awesome play for sure, as Al was about to talk about. I mean, even at 8,800, I think the price tag is appropriate, but he's still an awesome play.
I mean, look, you got to pay up for a wide receiver that's doing the things that Odell Beckham is doing consistently week in, week out. And we always everyone wants to poke at Eli Manning face and he's washed and he's over the hill and they need to get rid of him. It's like, look what he's doing in the passing game. I'm not saying Eli Manning's good, but like he's supporting Saquon Barkley's pass game numbers, which are ridiculously high. And he's supporting Odell Beckham Jr. every single week with over 10 targets, except for last week where he had 4. And now going up against Philly, who has allowed 5 times opposing wide receivers combined to score over 50 wide receiver points in a game. You know, this looks like another spot where Odell is going to have 20 to 30 DraftKings points with a possibility of having a higher ceiling if he does take a 6-yard slant and goes 60 yards to the house.
Yeah. I'm going to bring up a play too. If you're playing 150 lineups, I thought it was sneaky last week, didn't work out. Sterling Shepard has upside, and this Eagles secondary, like Al alluded to, is terrible. Everyone's going to be on Beckham. Everyone's going to be on Barkley. I think Sterling Shepard is a nice pivot, as is Evan Ingram, who's starting to get more and more involved. So a lot of options here on both sides. I do agree with Adam. I think the Eagles will bounce back. No one's going to play Wentz and Hurts and get them at low ownership. I think Adams is really nice. And, yeah, Golden Tate, Jeffrey, Aguilar. I mean, it's kind of a Patriot-type situation where there's a lot of mouths to feed, but could be some fantasy goodness here. Let's go to the Cardinals at Chargers. Cannot believe the Cardinals lost to the Raiders last week. That was just utterly embarrassing. Chargers also lost to my Broncos. So 2 surprising losses and a tricky spot here. I mean, Melvin Gordon, I expect to be one of the chalkiest plays on the slate, Adam. What are the news and notes here? And are you trying to jam in Melvin Gordon and potentially Keenan Allen?
Yeah, well, let's start with the Cardinals. I mean, maybe Byron Leftwich is not a miracle man. I mean, your offense sputters at home against a team literally trying to lose. Like, that was humiliating. And now they go on the road to face this Chargers team, which has got Joey Bosa back last week, and the Chargers were coming off a really bad loss. I mean, they were pissed after that loss. They kind of gave it away to the Broncos there. So I think the Chargers bounce back and play really well here. That should lead to a really good game for Melvin Gordon. He continues to be appropriately priced as well, I think, at 8,600, but his pass game involvement, as Al talked about last week, is just awesome. And another 6 catches last week and so explosive. So yeah, I think Melvin Gordon is strong. Keenan Allen, since the tantrum, and I know some people wanted me to call this the tantrum narrative, and maybe I will, since the tantrum, his target share has been over 30%, 10 targets, 9 targets, 12 targets last 3 games. He has been playing slot and outside a decent amount, both of them. So he will see some Patrick Peterson, but that volume for his talent at 7,100 is interesting. I think the concern for me would be Phillip Rivers' volume has been so low in a lot of games this year. And if you think the Chargers come out pissed off and just totally wreck the Cardinals, I could see Keenan Allen being back down to 6, 7, 8 targets. And that is a concern when your routes are so close to the line of scrimmage.
I was excited.
There's another narrative about this game. There's the Smiz Life narrative about this game.
Oh,
we'll be taking the private jet, fueling it up, flying back from Chicago, and we'll be on the sideline in pregame for this game at the StubHub Center, hoping to get a picture with the Gazelle personally. But yeah, things happening, moving and shaking.
Can you reveal how you got on the sideline of this game, or is that just come with Smiz Life?
It's just one of those things.
Private jet.
So I got sideline passes for pregame. I'm bringing the kids. I'm going to suit them up in Terrell Williams jerseys. Maybe I'll get one a Melvin Gordon and one a Keenan Allen. Maybe I'll get them both some Gazelle jerseys. We'll see. I'm hoping that my Gazelle t-shirt is going to be here in time. So you do have that. If you want to file that into the narrative.
You're going to...
I get to go see DFJ. I get to go see Melvin Gordon. I get to see the Gazelle live.
You're going to
Larry Fitzgerald. All my favorite players are in one spot, and I'm going to be there.
His life is going to win $1 million stacking this game up.
I might have some game stacks of this game for the weekend.
You're going to call Tyrell Williams over, and you're going to be like, I do this thing where I call you the Gazelle, and I send this GIF, and all these, minions on Twitter respond and like it and stuff. I mean, he's going to think you're the biggest loser in the history of LA.
He might.
That's where you're wrong, Adam.
It's a distinct possibility.
Coolest thing ever.
Or if I have the Gazelle t-shirt, If I have the Gazelle t-shirt in the Chargers colors, he might be like, what's that shirt? This is Terrell the Gazelle's t-shirt right here. Oh, man.
Oh, man. All right. This is getting a little too fun for this game because I have.
Okay, getting back to hold on.
Beat.
Keenan Allen's a good play. Phillip Rivers has thrown multiple touchdowns in every single game this year, so like at least the touchdown upsides there. And we've seen 3 wide receiver ones score over 27 points against Arizona this year. Tyreek Hill, Thielen, and Sanders. Keenan Allen definitely a wide receiver one, getting off of the narrative stuff. Do I need to tell you to play Melvin Gordon? 5 games with 55 plus receiving yards this year. That's more than Devin Funchess and Golden Tate have amassed this season. So as much as we always want to talk about playing Funchess and Tate, you're getting the 15 to 18 touches on the ground from Melvin Gordon, and you're getting wide receiver one numbers in terms of upside, in terms of floor with 55 receiving yards as often as he's getting it. Pete, go on.
Yeah. Producer Luke, I'm going to need a sad piano for this explanation here. So imagine we're sitting here, we're crushing it, right? We're starting off hot with Saquon Barkley scoring over 30 fantasy points. Lamar Jackson hits the rushing bonus for over 100 yards. Galladay just killing it, scores a touchdown, 28 fantasy points. All we need in the afternoon to have an amazing week, just to win tournaments, be in great shape, is RSJ and David Johnson. What does RSJ do? RSJ gets 1.5 fantasy points. It's okay. You can still do okay, right? David Johnson sitting there doing really well, but not getting into the end zone. Oh, it's the end of the game. David Johnson just busted a 60-yard touchdown. My winnings are going to go sky high. I can literally get unstuck from Amari Cooper. But no, there's a flag, Al. There's a freaking flag. RSJ gets a holding call on David Johnson's 60-yard rushing touchdown? Are you? I lost. I mean, it was so bad. That's the end. I mean, I had to retire from DraftKings. I'm not even gonna be able to post games in the main slate. RSJ completely ruined my Sunday. That tilt gets that I do every single week. That was the most tilted I've been all year when David Johnson scores the rushing touchdown that I need to literally win everything. And who's getting the holding call? RSJ. Did you see this, Adam? Or you're not watching the games?
I saw it. It was not good. And I saw the holding and I was like, whatever, it's holding. Then when I saw it was RSJ, I was like, this guy, man, like not only does he have 1.5 DraftKings points, but he's
ripping 15 points off of another player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, RSJ was #bad.
That was really bad. And my explanation was, but my tilt at that point was literally sky, because I did not see the flag. I just saw David Johnson running, and I was like, yes, this is like literally a 6-figure swing on that David Johnson touchdown. And of course, RSJ just absolutely buried me. So RSJ will probably score 2 touchdowns this week. I'm going to have 0 of him. Any other final thoughts here, boys?
No, sir.
Right. I'm going to get happy and get on the Smith's Life narrative. I think that's a pretty strong one with Smith's Life in the game.
I'm usually on Adam's team, though. I don't want to go to NFL games, but for this one, I'm making an exception.
Oh, that sounds cool. Yeah, I would do that. If somebody wants to give me sideline passes, bring the kids, I would consider, as long as I don't have to be in the parking lot at all, and I can sit in a private booth away from all the drunk people, then I'll go to an NFL game.
Exactly.
All right, let's go to the Dolphins at Colts. There's one big time play in this game. There's a couple, actually. Andrew Luck standing out quite a bit right now as potentially the cash game quarterback here, Adam. Colts are implied for a ton of points, and he's been amazing. What are the news and notes? And, is Andrew Luck your guy this week?
I'll have to think about that. Luck's certainly in play. My first instinct was Jameis was better than Luck, but we'll see. Ryan Tannehill is expected back for this game from his shoulder injury, so the rock out with your Brock out, etc. Those puns are all over. It was a good run. I don't know how healthy Ryan Tannehill actually is. I'd be hard pressed to play him or any of his receivers. I think the play that stands out most to me in this game, and I'm gonna have to look more at it because I haven't played this guy once in my entire life, but Marlon Mack quietly has taken lead back duties 18 carries per game over the last 3. He's been a little quiet the last 2, but he's faced some really good fronts in Jags and the Titans. Now he gets Miami, 21st in run defense DVOA, faced the fourth most rush attempts. I mean, everybody tries to run on Miami. They're 27th in yards per carry allowed. So, I mean, Marlon Mack's a talented guy. He's okay in the pass game. Obviously, Nyheim Hines is going to play there some, but Marlon Mack is only 5,500. I prefer him to Matt Breida. I think Marlon Mack, the scheme, the offensive line, like everything is really working for the Colts right now, and home against Miami is a pretty good spot. So maybe this will be something I'll reconsider later, but that was like the first thing I saw in this game was Marlon Mack 5,500.
It's strange that when you invest through the draft and free agency in your offensive line, that your quarterback and your running back get better. Mm-hmm. Strange how that happens, and it happened for the Colts. T.Y. Hilton is only 6,500 on following a week where he went nuts. His ownership, in my opinion, is going to be sky high this week. I'm a glutton for punishment, so I like Doyle again at 4,100, hoping that I just don't catch a 0 or a 1.5 from my tight end. The volume of snaps, the volume of routes, and theoretically, the volume of targets in a good game situation against a sort of okay, whatever, medium, average defense against the position. Doyle at 4,100. Am I just going back to the well here too many times? But I don't see very many options on this slate. And obviously I prefer Doyle to Ebron because of all the volume.
Yeah. I think Brait for 500 less was my first instinct, but I have no problem with Doyle. You're going to tilt your face off when Ebron and Mo Alley Cox score.
Of course. That's what I said. I know what I'm setting myself up for here. At least I won't have to watch it. I'm not going to sit there watching the game on TV because I'll be at a game watching all the old guys and the good. I get to watch Antonio Gates live, guys.
Yeah. This is your game. The Gates.
This is it.
Fits.
This is my dream spot.
I'm not gonna,
and I don't have to watch Doyle. I don't have to tilt Doyle. This is all working out.
Yeah,
man, this midlife narrative, very strong. Colts here. Andrew Luck, I think, is my quarterback as of right now. He's been playing incredible. The offensive line, like you talked about, Smiz, has been one of the best in the entire NFL. And that's really paid dividends. I mean, Andrew Luck has more time. They're able to run the football. T.Y. Hilton's going off in the fast track. And even Ebron's able to run in touchdowns. So I really like the Colts in the spot. They're implied for a ton of points. It's indoors. And the Dolphins team, if they can put up some points here, I think the Colts will push the pedal to the metal here. I think the Colts have a really good chance in this division, and this is a big game. So I'm on all the Colts players. I think Mac's really enticing at his price tag. I like Hilton. I like Doyle. And I'll have exposure to all of them in tournaments, and definitely Luck as my guy right now. I do think Jameis is in play, but there's just a little less risk, I think, with Andrew Luck. So that's my reasoning for him as of right now. Let's move to the Steelers at Broncos. Last game on the slate, there's one guy that I obviously love in this game. Adam, what are the news and notes here?
Yeah, I don't have much from an injury perspective right now. We'll see on that. Was not surprised that Pittsburgh's offense went down to Jacksonville and struggled last week, 1 p.m. road game for Big Ben, et cetera, et cetera. So, James Conner, I know he disappointed last week, did catch 6 balls on 9 targets. I still think James Conner is an awesome play at 7,800. Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster are always going to be in play. On the Broncos side, I mean, I guess you could make a case for Jeff Heuerman. Emmanuel Sanders' price has come down a lot, but I don't know. I think my favorite play in this game, Al, on first glance would be James Conner.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been an absolute machine, right? Every single week he's posting huge numbers. And last week he would have done very well against the Jaguars too, in terms of just looking back at a game log points per game situation. If he didn't drop that pass down the sideline on the wheel route at the end of the game, he would have come up with a 30-yard touchdown catch and added about 10 points to his total. So even in a bad game environment for him, he can still produce a 20 fantasy point day. He's going to get the volume. The price is low enough. The question is going to be, do you prefer him or Christian McCaffrey? I think that's a very real decision going into this weekend, and it is Wednesday morning, my dudes. So it's going to be tough for me to make that decision right at this point. So I like him. To me, the question is, with Freeman back, do we have to avoid Lindsey at 5,600?
I think there's better
In
running
tournaments,
backs.
it's not a cash play. In tournaments, do we have to avoid Lindsey? The kid just looks explosive every single week.
Yeah, he's wicked fast. The best play in this game, guys, is Courtland Sutton. Let's be honest. Courtland Sutton is going to have a huge game at some point. I've been on this train all year. One of these days,
we're in week 12. He's run out of time to have this big game.
One of these days, he's going to explode for over 11 fantasy points. One of these days.
Courtland Sutton is too good to. What am I? I mean, what do you guys want from me? Of course. That's all I got. I think the Lindsey thing's thin. Antonio Brown's still somewhat cheap. I will note that Chris Harris, shout out to Ian Hartitz. Chris Harris is still playing at an elite level. A lot of metrics have him as the best corner in the league. He'll probably see some Antonio Brown, some Juju. So that's a little bit of a concern. So I agree with you, Adam. Connor's my favorite play on Pittsburgh. But, no Lindsey, no Freeman, no Heuerman for me. Emmanuel Sanders, I got a free roll with #TeamSex. So I'm all in on Courtland Sutton. Talk me out of it.
I prefer Emmanuel Sanders at 5,500 to Courtland Sutton. That's my entire argument.
He's how much is Sutton? 4,600.
Yeah, mid fours, and Manny Sanders is 55.
Yeah. Courtland Sutton's target share has not really gone up since the Demaryius trade, and that's a concern for me. Like, why is he not earning more targets?
And Heuerman's got 11 and 5.
Let me. Did you see the game-winning catch that he had last week?
Are we YouTubing right now? Are you searching YouTube on the podcast? We can't see it.
Team watch the games.
4,400. Yeah, watching the games is really paying off this year. 4,400 for Courtland Sutton. I do agree that the targets are a little bit concerning. I think he should. Listen, his ADOT's still really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a lot of opportunity in the red zone. And he's been as unlucky as anyone, as I've talked about. Galladay finally running well. I thought that touchdown for sure was going to get reversed last week, considering everything that's happened to him. But, yeah, I'm going to give a biased take again. I think Courtland Sutton, 4,400, is one of the highest ceiling receivers in this range. Definitely like Emmanuel Sanders. I think Connor's the other one. Al, any final plays here?
Nah, to me, it's Manny Sanders. McDonald's all right. Connor, yes. Give me the Pittsburgh. Give me one of the wide receivers from Pittsburgh. Those are the plays that I want the most from this game. I'll sprinkle Lindsey in some GPPs.
Adam, give us your conviction play. I'll give mine, then we'll kick it to Al to end the pod.
Oh, we're doing conviction plays again. Great. Let me
Wednesday morning conviction.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll go with the guy that stood out to me without doing too much research, but Marlon Mack is very likely to get 16 to 20 plus touches against Miami at home in a game I expect the Colts to control with their offensive line. So Marlon Mack at 5,500 will go down as my conviction play, and I'm so glad we're doing this segment again.
I, too, am so glad we're doing this segment. And I'll tell you what I have conviction on. I have conviction on the Smiz Life narrative. No one is luckier than Al. Al is going to come home on the private jet. He's going to come in hot with his kids. He's not only going to get autographs from Tyrell the Gazelle, he's going to get autographs from Melvin Gordon. He's going to get Keenan Allen. Everyone's just going to be loving Smiz Life. And how is he going to cap it off? He's going to cap it off by winning $1 million with a game stack with the Cardinals and the Chargers. RSJ tilted me more than any player has all year, which is very impressive considering Amari Cooper has been extremely frustrating. I'm expecting a full-blown shootout there where RSJ, DJ go nuts, and, of course, the Chargers go ham. So my conviction is on the Smiz Life narrative. Al?
So your conviction play is me.
Correct.
All right. So Adam is Marlon Mack. Pete's conviction play is me. My conviction play is going to be Lamar Jackson. This reminds me, the way that they're utilizing Lamar Jackson in this offense reminds me of the way that Denver used to utilize Tim Tebow and how viable he was for fantasy, based on if he just throws for 150 yards and 1 touchdown and runs the ball as much as he's running it. I don't expect 27, but if he gets 15 or plus rushes with the possibility of 1 touchdown on the ground, you're talking over 20 fantasy points with a possibility of over 30 for only 5,700. I think he's right there in the running for the top quarterback on the week with Jameis Winston. I prefer the massive upside of Lamar Jackson's rushing ability to Jameis having to complete a ton of touchdowns and not turn the ball over 4 times. So Lamar Jackson, my conviction play on the week. But again, it's Wednesday morning, so things might change by the weekend. We hope that you guys did have a great Thanksgiving. Hope that you enjoyed the food, the family, and the football. And let's fill this listener league this week. 8,100 entrants. If you fill it, the hashtag Make It Bigger campaign will finally come to fruition with the rake-free wave doing what it has to do. So you guys got to get in there. I know it's a tough week. I know you're probably traveling. I know that you've spent time with family. I know that you're probably still kind of half asleep from the tryptophan and the leftover sandwiches and everything else that you're going to have on Thursday and Friday morning. But let's get this thing filled before Sunday so that we can actually see possibly the 10K Listener League in Week 13. Thank you for joining us. For Pete and for Adam and for producer Luke, all the way across the pond, I'm out. See you guys later. Bye.
We are promoters at DraftKings and also avid fans. Our usernames are Adam Levitan, Al Smizzle, and CSU Ram 88. We may sometimes play on our personal accounts in the games that we offer advice on. Although we have expressed our personal view on the games and strategies in this podcast, they do not necessarily reflect the views of DraftKings, and we also may deploy different players and strategies than what we recommended in this podcast.